leading the charge to make the 2024 Broker Carrier Summit possible, and we are so excited to have their support. In case you haven't heard, TAFS offers much more than freight factoring. It provides a comprehensive support system for trucking companies of all sizes, specializing in fast and efficient invoice factoring with the ability to pay carriers in as little as 1 hour. And TAFS services go well beyond factoring, offering a fuel card that unlocks major fuel discounts, flexible business loans that are designed to cater to the distinct needs of a carrier's operations, a dedicated, responsive client experience team, and much more. Black Box Logistics is a 3PL freight brokerage based out of Birmingham. Alabama Black Box Logistics was formed in 2020 by 3 friends, Logan Dyer, William Graves, and Will Hopkins, in a basement office with the goal of bringing transparency around the clock communication and hassle-free customer experience to the table. Loadbase is a logistics software solution that simplifies the process of tracking carriers. Multi-service fuel card, the industry's first fuel card, was created by an over-the-road truck driver in 1978 to offer a safe, simple, and cost-effective way to handle fuel and trucking expenses. Initially, it addressed safety concerns of carrying cash on the road. Today, it combats advanced fraud with best-in-class technical and personal support. Sales-CRM is built for freight broker and agent sales teams. Manage your shipper prospecting and follow-ups. Organize your carriers in the lanes they run. HD Ships is a leading logistics provider specializing in sustainable and tech-driven freight solutions. With hubs in Reno, Phoenix, and London, we deliver comprehensive services, including full truckload, expedited cross-border, and intermodal freight. Leveraging proprietary technology, we offer 24/7 tracking, real-time visibility, and advanced automation to ensure safe, compliant, and efficient transportation. Our commitment to sustainability enables clients to offset emissions through carbon credits, aligning logistics with environmental goals. At HD Ships, we prioritize transparency, reliability, and exceptional customer service, empowering clients to achieve seamless, sustainable logistics solutions worldwide.
What's happening? Happy Friday.
What's going on, Matt? Happy Friday, man.
How was your Christmas? You just got back today, right?
Got back yesterday, yeah, from Atlanta originally, and just drove back up to Nashville yesterday morning. So it was good. It was relaxing. Oh, no. It was actually kind of nice. It was like within the 40s and 50s and stuff. So no, it wasn't too bad. Good
stuff. Well, It should be a fun episode today. We got John Rogers and Jayme over at Daystar Transport backstage. Kick it off. Shout out to our Sponsors multi-service fuel card. Jayme, actually one of our guests today, is a proud user of their fuel card. We're grateful to have them as sponsors. Jessica, Patricia are great people. Black Box and HD, that's kind of go without being said. That's Will, the company Will owns, the company I do recruiting for. Loadbase, great tracking software. Stan's a really great guy. Stan was actually a dispatcher previously. We've met both of the owners over there, virtually, hopefully in person sometime whenever we get out to California. They got a great product, a great website. If you're looking for tracking solutions, but definitely give them a shout before looking at all the big guys. I'll let Josh talk about his company since he's here.
Yeah, and Sales-CRM, we're a sponsor. If you use spreadsheets, if you use a limited CRM functionality within a TMS or just a complex CRM in general, we're a CRM specific for freight brokers and freight agents. So you can check us out, sales-crm.com, and we'd be happy to show you what we have.
100%. I know Will's a proud user of Sales Dash. I know several brokers that use it and are very happy with it. Let's put the banner sponsor brought to you by Taft's, top 10 factoring company, Kansas City based. Rob and Ryan are great customer service. They're open until 12 every day. Great rates. We're really, really thankful to have them as a sponsor. And yeah, that does it. Well, we got John Rogers and Jayme. Should we bring him in?
Let's do it. Looking forward to it.
Hey guys, how's it going?
What's going on, guys?
Hey guys.
I don't think we can hear you, Jayme.
I think he may be on mute.
Yeah, I was on mute. I said, Merry late Christmas and Happy New Year's. Hope y'all enjoy it. It looks like I'll be working, but it is what it is.
I think last time we did this show, I think John was at a restaurant and you were outside at your house in Texas having a cold one. I think was the last time we did this episode earlier this summer.
Yeah, I had just pulled in off the road last time. I hadn't been home maybe an hour and a half. So I'd been out like 3 or 4 weeks at that time.
Well, I guess to get started, I mean, it's been kind of a hot topic. I know we talked about it a little bit last time. I know, Jayme, you've had some thoughts on this. John has as well. The FMSCA, recently came down with a proposal on broker transparency, and figured that'd be a good place to start. I know that's something you guys are both, passionate about that topic, and could be a good discussion.
Yeah, I was pretty stoked when they opened it. They opened it a little late than they said they would. I'll keep my opinions to myself on reason why I think they opened it when they did. I think if the election would have went the other way, they would have never done it. But yeah, man, I think last time I checked, we had over 1,600 comments already on the notice of proposed rulemaking. So we'll see where it goes, man. I'll be glad when it's done so we can all be friends again. I mean, we're friends anyway, but, we've been kind of at odds going around and around, but it is what it is. We ain't always going to agree, but I wanted to point something out. I think that's the first time I've listened to your whole intro, but, you had 8 Black Box and HD ships, and both of them in the commentary there brought up transparency. It's a funny thing to me that transparency is always paraded as a great thing, broker to carrier, but it seems to be a liability if you go broker to carrier versus broker to shipper. I've actually brought that up on several people's professional profile, and they've changed their bio. So
yeah, it's a pretty common core value among a lot of brokerages. I mean, you see it out there all the time if they post any core values and stuff. So it's an interesting take.
Yeah, no, that's what I like about you, Jayme. You're not afraid to share your opinion. We got Rob tuning in. Go check out the Logistics Lounge, another great podcast. Rob says, "Oh God, here goes the neighborhood."
Hey, Rob, how you doing, sir?
John, is that your daughter there?
Yes, that's Lily. Say hi, Lily.
Hi.
Hey, Lily.
Hey, Lily.
Hello, baby.
What'd
I
you
got a
get for
Lily
Christmas?
too. My 14-year-old's Lily.
Are you looking to be a freight broker when you grow up, Lily, like your dad?
No. Just
You don't
shake your
want to
head no.
call.
Shake your head no. Thank you. Do it again.
You don't
Shake your
want
head
to
no.
keep in my path.
There you go. No.
What's your thoughts on the whole broker transparency thing, John? Are you
Yeah, look, it doesn't affect my business, and I mean, I'm just a 0.00001% and probably at another 15 or 20 zeros of the supply chain. I'm just one little guy doing my own little thing. I mean, in the whole scheme of things, I don't think it's going to change the industry or obviously get to what the carriers would like to see. But and I think based on the conversations with Matthew and some of the other people that we've been on podcast, the last podcast we were on. Long story short, they're going to still allow the waivers, and there's as far as waiving the regulation, number one, and number two, I just really don't believe it's going to make a change to the industry as a whole. And again, I go to the fact that I've actually had this discussion with one of my clients, Nate in Huntington, and Nate said the same thing that I've kind of reiterated. Once me and him make a deal on a number, he doesn't care what I make at that point. And he in his words, he says, John, I hope you make the most money you can. So once, long as I'm making decisions what's in his best interest to keep risk down and mitigating risk and make sure I select the right carrier, that's what's important to him. So once I give him that number, what I make between me and him made a negotiation agreement, then me and the carrier makes a negotiation agreement. And that's where it's at. And so for me, it's a bunch of noise. There's a lot of fraud, abuse, things in the industry that I think Del Prox has taken a big leap on correcting. I've spoke to him in length when I was in Chattanooga. When he was in Chattanooga, we talked about what he's trying to do from the FMCSA and the DOT perspective, and then this guy might end up working for the government or working for the FMCSA, to help curb some of the fraud that we have in the industry. That's more my concern on versus how much each person makes, because at the end of the day, we've got our own bills to pay. We have our own budgets to pay. Um, and I just don't see it as a real big issue from my perspective. And I'm maybe being a little bit selfish when I say that, but again, I'm just one little independent freight agent. I'm not an Arrive, a CH, a TQL. I'm just me. So that's my thought.
Do you think, Jayme, from the carrier side, I know you just said you got $1,900 to go 300 miles, and you posted that the load boards are, getting hot, and maybe there's some optimism in the market. Do you think if the market, you're getting $4 or $5 a mile, $3, $4, $5, $6 a mile, you think broker transparency will be less of a concern for carriers, when the market flips?
Yeah, Matt, if you'll remember when all this started back in 2022, it was a big concern. When the bubble started, okay, when COVID hit, when they shut the country down for like 2 weeks, freight just dried up. It was moving $1.25 a mile, and that's when this big push started, when they went to Washington. Unfortunately, at the time, as soon as the bubble broke, everybody lost interest, and everybody rode the bubble, and that's the reason why it was so long taking and getting it kicked back off. I want to make a couple of comments on what John said and ask a question. So we have you saying that this year you've managed what 35.2 or 35.8% commission
That's
on
correct.
your loads.
That's correct. Correct.
Okay.
But
So
let me
down a
just
little
stop you
bit,
there.
hold on.
Let me
finish
just
my
say
question.
one thing. Remember, I do more than just A to B. So some of this stuff where I do pickup allowances, where I'm their logistics manager, where I have 5 clients where they don't employ a logistics manager. I'm their logistics manager. I source everything. I handle it all from A to Z. So part of that number, I don't invoice them separately for that, Jayme. That's all inclusive in the rate against what I pay a carrier. So you just got to keep that in mind.
Yeah,
I am
I get
not
it, bro.
just your typical TQL or Arrive
I
freight
mean, you
broker.
say that, but a broker's a broker, and typically the middleman does the same thing, no matter where. You be actually become the shipping arm of your customer. So I mean, that really don't hold water. But what I was asking, so if do you think your network of carriers, that if they, in other words, if you had to provide it and it wasn't something that, if it was compulsory, if you had to provide it on load, do you think that would affect the way carriers the next time would negotiate with you?
It may, depending. So, for example, if it's a carrier that say is out of Texas, and this is one I can use today.
Jamie's out
I've
of
got
Texas. So that's a great
yeah,
example.
I've got a Lufkin, Texas that picks up Tuesday, delivers Thursday. I booked that with a carrier today. Here, ask over ask. Obviously, I got him down, and I paid market. I mean, I didn't. Wasn't like I'm beating him up over. I love you, baby. It wasn't like I was beating him up over a couple $100. I paid what DAT showed. I mean, I do the lane normally every Monday, but because of the holiday, it's going to ship Tuesday because Brookshire Brothers is closed on the 1st. But that guy, if he knew what I had in the load, he still would have took it because he needed to get his truck back to Texas. I had the
Okay, I get
truck,
it.
I had the load to get him back to Texas. So for him, I don't think he would have cared. Um, if you're a reasonable carrier, you understand we got to make money. I mean, um, I know you got to make money. I think, but they understand that. I just don't think it would make a difference. I just don't. I mean, I even tell carriers, I'm going to give you all of this, but $500, or I'm going to give you all this, but $800. You can have this, but this is mine. I'll tell them that. I mean, if they walk me, they walk me. But the next guy I'll call and I'll get that person, you know?
All right, let me ask you something. How many of the carriers that you tell that, how many of them do you think believe you when you tell them that?
Oh, probably not many. I mean, first off, most brokers, and I'm sure you hear it often. Oh man, this is a loser already, right? They're lying to you. If they would be out of business, right?
Yeah.
So there's a carrier that I do business with here locally in West Virginia, and he's an agent. He's actually a agent for Copeland, and he does a lot of business with me. But he also has, as a carrier, he also has a brokerage, right? So he brokers freight to other carriers, right? And me and him are pretty transparent about things. And I tell him, hey man, this is all I'm going to pay on this one. He'll tell me yes or no. He'll tell me to pound sand, and we're still friends. His name's Dustin. I mean, he's commented
I
on a
get,
lot of my stuff.
brother, I get the same thing.
Sure.
Even in my network, if I can't get my rate, I tell them, well, maybe next time. Even if it's a broker that's not in my network, I'm still going to be polite, and I'm still going to say, well, we're not going to be able to do this one. Maybe we'll catch it next time. That's every phone call. Okay, it never gets out of line. Keep it professional, regardless if you can work together. Work together. I get it.
Amen.
The problem is where I was going with that is the trust is lacking because we're always told the same exact thing. And that goes back to my stance that broker transparency would put trust back in the game. Okay.
Look, as long as
So,
there's money
so,
involved, Jamie, as long as
so,
there's money involved, and that's paying somebody's bills. I mean, I worked for R&L, and we had a carrier team. So when I put in an order, and let's say I had $2,000 in the order, I'll say pay a truck between 13 and 1,500. Then that carrier rep gets that load. Then that carrier reps, they got to get their little bit out of the cookie jar because they're incentivized. So as long as there's commission and there's money, greed is going to be a factor in this industry. I mean, I've been in commission sales all my life. It's just the way it works. And you're not going to change it.
well,
Yeah.
that goes back to it. I don't know if y'all seen when we done the broker carrier summit. If y'all seen that podcast, it was recent. Um, and we had a good conversation, a good long conversation on it. But it goes back to the fact that Me myself personally, that load you run out of Lufkin, was it actually Rowena to Brookshire Brothers down in Lufkin?
It was going to
'Cause I,
Brookshire. Yeah, it's going to Brookshire Brothers in Lufkin, Texas, to their
yeah, I
DC.
ran that load for LDI and got $1,800 out of that lane. Just so you know, I can send you the
Well,
rate confirmation.
this one come
You
out
can
of
look it
West
up.
Virginia. This one come out of West
Yeah,
Virginia.
no,
But,
this
yeah,
one
right,
comes out of Rowena every week.
right.
It's a load of beef trimmings that comes out of Rowena and goes Rowena to Lufkin every Saturday.
Mine
Delivers
is
Sunday.
mine is dried mashed potato mix for their Brookshire Brothers Deli, cornbread mix, and chicken breading mix. So it's a mix of 3 products.
I got you. But I've run that
You
lane
guys
for
should
years.
haul a load together sometime. I think that would be
I,
great.
Well, I've
I've got
worked
one.
with TJ.
I've got one on the 10th coming out of. It's a 2-1. First pick is Waller, Texas, which is Houston. Second pick is at Pioneer at US Cold or Pioneer Storage in Arlington, Texas, and then finishes up Monday in Lexington. And I picked that. I just scheduled the appointments, and it picks up on the 10th.
That's too far east for me, bud. I don't run that far east. I don't run the East Coast. I don't. I haven't lost them. Right here where I'm at, I'm sitting right now in Hope, Arkansas. This is my center point where I try to start from, either here or Laredo every week. Okay. This is where I make my money. These lanes. I know them. I know where I'm going. I know my rates. I know the brokers in these lanes. So that's how my business works. That's my business model, my business plan. It works well. But
And my
back to
business model is
hold
exactly
on.
the same.
I'm gonna
Just
forget.
flipped.
I'm a dummy. Remember, I'm a trucker. I'm a dummy. You know. So and I'm old too. So
You're not
where I
old,
was
Jamie.
going
You're quite
was
young.
I'm 52.
52
Where I
is
was
52
going
is a new 40.
it seems like you kick the goalpost every time you reach what you considered old. I've been doing that since I was 35. So but yeah, you're right. So if you go back and y'all watch the BCS podcast, I'm not concerned with the rate so much because I'm going to get my rate, or I'm not going to move my truck. I'm not going to do it.
Amen.
If we can't come to terms, I move to the next one. If I can't come to terms in my network, I go to the load board. It's just the way business is done. You know, I've talked to probably 40 or 50 brokers this morning that's called me when I posted my truck. My phone's lit up. Freight's hot. But you said something, John, that I want to point out. Okay, well, you take your commission, and then the carrier rep takes his commission. That's what I'm more concerned with seeing. Okay, with the double broker agreements that we're not aware of, how many hands has this load passed through? 3, 4 brokers? Are big brokerages passing the loads back and forth between them? Okay, well, co-broker this one for me. I'll co-broker the next one for you. You can take your cut. I'll take my cut. And that way, but we only got to show we're taking 13 to 16% because that's all you took. Co-broker agreements to me is important. I want to know who I'm working with. Talking about fraud. I want to know fraud. I want to know who I'm working with because I vet my brokers just like brokers vet your carriers. I want to know who I'm working for, and without the transparency and me knowing who I'm working for, I might end up working for somebody by proxy that I've got blacklisted for good reason. You know,
I think that's why a lot of brokers don't like co-brokering. I mean, it's a very mixed topic. I mean, especially when it comes to truckload. I mean, I think you see
put all of
more
them do it, Matt.
specialized.
No, I mean, I don't co-broker nothing. I mean, if it's, I mean, a buck stops with me. I mean, when I get a, when I get a, when I get an email or a message on LinkedIn for somebody that wants to go down that co-brokering route, I say basically you're telling me that you're not a good salesperson and that you suck, so you're just trying to write off my freight. So why would I work my ass off, put my name, my name on something just to give you a cut of the profit? If I kill it, I eat it, plain and simple. And so so when it comes to that part of the conversation, Jamie, I don't know what happens because I don't do it. Have I been offered? Yeah, I mean, almost on a weekly basis, some guy out of India will send me a message and ask me to co-broker or an email, but I mean, I don't entertain it.
Or how about Landstar?
So I'm not allowed. Logistics Dynamics will not work with Landstar because of the double brokering. I've had my ass chapped 3 times when I was with R&L. Back when I was with them, I was moving some hazmat, which obviously Landstar is a great hazmat carrier. Every driver that works for Landstar is hazmat certified, can haul hazmat. They're a great asset, but unfortunately, I got my ass chapped about 3 different times with them. First time, shame on me. Second time, shame on First time, shame on you. Second time, shame on me. And LDI, because of that reason, they've had other agents. We got about 150 agents within our network. They've had those same experiences, so LDI made a decision not to work with them. So again, I can't speak for that in that section of the co-brokering thing, and if that happens, or 2 or 3, 4 hands are in the cookie jar, because there's not. With me, there's only one hand in the cookie jar, and that's me. So,
But every broker you ask that is going to tell you the same thing. Oh no, we don't co-broker freight.
Oh, someone will admit to it.
But we know it happens. We know it happens. And we know
yeah,
it happens regularly.
LaShawn Brown co-brokers for another broker. A broker gives him freight. He has a co-brokering effect. He just talked about it last week, and it happens. But everybody is on the up and up.
I've got freight that I
I won't
haul all
do
the
it.
time
I'm
that's
just too
co-brokered
greedy.
that I know for a fact it is.
I'm just too
I know
greedy.
what trucking companies it's under, and I know the broker it's under. I know them both, and I still haul for them all the time. Never had a problem. But it's
Josh,
good
what's
to
your
know
take
that.
on-
It's nice to know that.
Josh, what's your take on used to be a broker? Did you guys co-broker? What's your take on co-brokering?
No, we didn't do any co-brokering. We weren't allowed to work with Landstar. So yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of a little bit of what they've been talking about. It's too many cookies in the jar, or too many hands in it. I mean, you're trusting somebody else with your business. And I think with John saying, I've heard some of John's stuff before about, what he's obviously pricing for and what he's getting paid for the service and whatnot. That was always kind of how we approach it at our brokerage. And, I know you're going to hear that from a bunch of people, and there's plenty of liars throughout the industry and everything. But I always just look at it as, you do the things that's within your control, whether you're on the brokerage side or on the carrier side as well. There's certain things that you can do within your control. So, and you just try to control that as best as you can. Jayme, I'm curious on your side. You mentioned you run a lot of the same lanes, work with some of the same brokers, but I'm sure there's times where, you're getting some spot freight every now and then. What do the brokers that you're consistently working with and have the strongest relationships with do better than, the rest that you would typically work with?
Oh, that's a good question. Now I run all spot freight. I run exclusively spot freight. Okay. Now I have a network of brokers that I work with. The way I work it, and I put this on VCS, is I use a load board every day. I'm on the load board every day. Most of the day, some days. All right. But I'm not on the load board looking at every load. I start out with searching rate per mile, and I'll go down the list. The brokers that I've built the network with are always in the top rates per mile. So that's where I find my brokers. So they're always at the top of the list, right? So
do you
I
start
go
to
down
see
through
some
there.
of the same brokers, and are you consistently staying in touch with those guys, or
That's what I do. I've got my personal contacts. I've got cell phone numbers. I've got direct lines. And when I'm in my area, I look at the load board and I go down there and see what they got available. And when I see a load from my network, that's the first ones I'm going to call on. Or I'm going to call them originally when I get there and say, "Hey, hello, Rob. How you doing, sir? Good to see you." That's the first one I'm going to call. If I know I'm going to area like where I'm at right now, I got maybe 3 or 4 brokers here. Probably 85 or 90% of my work is return work by the same brokers. That's just the way it's been. What sets them apart? Communication. I've gotten to where I trust them. They trust me. And I don't get harassed. I don't get called every 30 minutes or an hour. Where are you at? They know where I'm at. They know where I'm going. I'm a carrier that prefers tracking. I tell them, if I set up, send me the tracking. Oh, we don't need it. I said, well, I prefer it. And they send it. I'm going to be where I'm supposed to be, doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Open lines of communication, being able to communicate well, which is a lot of truckers now. And there's a lot of brokers that don't communicate well.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a fact. and the way a load is laid out. That's number one to me. If I go out of my network and I get a load and it's laid out terrible and causes me problems, they'll go on the back of the list. They might not get DNUs, but they'll go on the back of the list. You know what I mean? So the brokers I work with are the ones that's worked their way up on my list to, I know the load's going to be laid out well. It's going to work well. That's it.
One thing that might surprise some viewers, Jayme, I know we were talking about this yesterday, but you mentioned TQL is somebody you haul pretty frequently for, and they are one of the better ones at,
not frequently.
Maybe that was the wrong word, but they're one of the better ones at paying detention, paying layovers, and communicating.
It seems like the bigger brokerages are more on top of detention and layover and accessorials than smaller brokers. It seems like even I usually don't have to deal with it in my network because the loads are laid out well. But it seems to me the smaller brokerages, you got to fight tooth and nail to get detention or layover when you're owed it. You know what I mean? You're on time. You're there. You do everything you're supposed to, and then you call them up and well, we've submitted it. You'll never hear back from them. You call them back. And you say, hey, I need this attention, need this layover. Well, it still hasn't been approved. Or then they just start ghosting you. They won't answer the phone. They won't answer emails.
I'll tell you why that is.
Small brokers.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why that is. All your bigger brokers, C.H. Robinson, Arrive, TQL, they've got agreements in place with these larger shippers, right? These enterprise shippers. And and I have a client that I work with, and we do a lot of Home Depot, right? So Home Depot has that laid out. All their accessorial charges, right? So the brokerage knows they're going to get the money back. If you're dealing with one of these small brokerages, a very smaller shipper, where they're looking at every nickel and every dime, those are the ones that you're going to have to fight. Like with my clients that I have, and I have some smaller end clients to do food. Now we all know, Jayme, you haul food, I move food. We all food. Typically 99 out of 100 places that you go has a pickup appointment and a delivery appointment. And if you go to Gordon Food Service, or you're going to a US Foods or a Cisco and you're late, you could sit there all HEB, you're going to sit there all day, right? We know that. And so those more structured loads that are going to these larger houses, you're not going to have a problem getting your detention. One of my clients that I manage here in their business here in Dalton, they have an over-the-road fleet. Well, my assistant dispatches those over-the-road trucks, so we're getting backhaul freight from C.H. Robinson, Arrive, and I see, and you're 100%. I see those emails flying every single day. Hey, we were there. My girl Mariah down in Tampa, that's where we get some loads from coming out of our Chicago market. And she's and within 5 minutes she replies back and sends it. It's those really smaller brokerages that you will struggle with that. And I agree with that. Any client of mine, and because of the type of relationship, I don't have to ask. I send it out. I did it today. I had a Great Lakes cheese load picking up. I had a Great Lakes cheese load picking up yesterday. The appointment time was 13:20. Driver was there. He didn't get out. He didn't get out until 6:15. He rode all night. Made the deliver next morning. As soon as I got the bill of lading, the POD had the times on it, I immediately sent detention. They didn't even have to ask for it. And they actually did me a favor because my regular carrier fell off. He decided he didn't want to work. So I was actually scrambling a little bit to get that load covered. So they did me a favor. So I agree with you. But these bigger brokerages, you don't have to worry about it. They've got it all built into their tariff. They've got it built into the agreement. And they're billing back, these large companies.
But John, to be fair though, too, I mean, big companies like that you named, they also have SMB shippers too. They're not exclusively enterprise. Yes, they have more enterprise, but he's saying it's better overall. Whether he's calling for, are you saying that the only time you're getting detention approved, Jayme, from these big shippers is when the shipper is, or these big brokers is when the shipper is an enterprise shipper, or are you still, when it's a small shipper, are you still having a good experience with these bigger brokerages of getting detention?
It just seems like the bigger brokers it's a lot easier to get. here's the way here's the way I look at it. Okay, I run a refrigerated unit. John, you know what I'm fixing to tell you. So I don't start tripping on the tension until after 4 hours, load and unload. When I negotiate freight, when we sit down on a rate, I'm not worried about the rate per mile. I'm worried. My biggest concern is how long this load is going to occupy my truck. Okay.
Mhm.
The longer the load occupies my truck, the more hours comes off my 70-hour work clock for a week. It costs me money. Miles really don't cost money versus where the hours and hours and hours and hours sitting in a dock tied up, held hostage, or the 24-hour you sit there to the next day. That's what costs you money. All right. So when I negotiate rates, I'm looking at, okay, well, 4 hours to load, 4 hours to unload. That's 8 hours. I can split my clock on one of them 3 hours. So that brings it down to 5 hours. It's going to cost me off my 70 to load and unload this load. 5 hours. It's going to cost me 8 hours altogether of my time, but it's going to cost me 5 hours that I can't replace on my 70-hour clock. So I figured those 5 hours. Okay. So if I'm like the load I'm running right now is 343 miles, 5 hours and 46 minutes. It's supposed to deliver straight through. I don't know if it's going to, because it's already late. I don't know why. I come in first come, first serve. They put 2 trucks in front of me. Probably because they know the people here and I don't. I guess I get that treatment at PFG because I know them very well there and others don't. But it's just the nature of the beast. So I've got 6 hours of run time. I deadheaded an hour and a half to get here. That's 7.5 hours. And then I've got 5 hours of load time. So that's my base that I want to be at is $100 an hour. Okay. I need $100 an hour out of 70 hours. I need $7,000 a week for me to make profit, take care of all things I need to, and make driver pay, make profit for the company.
Hey,
So
Jay,
when I put,
we got a quick question for Rob, as long as we're on the reefer subject. What's your opinion on lumpers at these facilities that you're going to?
I don't pay lumpers. I never pay lumpers.
I mean, do you have a problem getting reimbursed? Maybe that's what Rob's question is.
I don't get reimbursed. I require them to send me a EFS check or com check right then. I don't do the reimbursement. It's too hard to get reimbursed. You got to chase them down. They'll ghost you. So when I require an EFS code to pay a lumper, that's just the way I do it. But so if I'm looking at 12.5 hours on a load, I need to be base minimum $1,250 on that load. If it's 300, 400 miles, $3 a mile. Then if I get tied up and it takes me 8 hours to load, 8 hours to unload, it's cost me a day, but it's also cost me an extra 8 hours of my clock. That's $800 I've lost off of my work week that I could have been profitable, that I can no longer be profitable. So that being said, okay, the brokers, the smaller brokerages, because it's not set in stone, they don't have tariffs. At one time before the Motor Carrier Act of 1980, we had binding tariffs that superseded any other tariff if we got caught. The Motor Carrier Act of 1980 stripped that from us. Contract stripped that from us. So at that point, it's the broker's responsibility. I'm owed that. That come off of my clock. Now that's one thing that if it costs me 8 hours off my clock and they try to give me nothing, not even at least a $250 layover or the $25 to $35 to $50 an hour you get, I'll DNU a broker real quick over that.
We got Daniel says, I just realized I probably should be reading some of these comments because anyone who tunes in after on Spotify is going to have no idea because I've just been putting up all these comments without reading them. But Daniel said, I imagine smaller brokerages are running on tight margins and need to get paid by their customers before paying any accessorials. Seth says, tell me you run 90% Tyson without telling me you run 90% Tyson. Seth also says 2 hours max at my shippers and I'm paying you detention. Levi says, shut down and take 10 at the shipper for Tyson. So a lot of people are mentioning Tyson. Do you guys run for Tyson?
I run Pilgrim's Pride. I run Sanderson Farms. I run a lot of meat. I run a lot of chicken. I run chicken out, meat from out up here, pork, chicken, it don't matter. And then I run produce back. But it's the same way in layover Laredo or McAllen. I mean, come on, let's get real. You're waiting on a truck. They call it layover Laredo for a reason.
I haven't heard that one. I actually like it though. Well, I guess you're kind of go a little bit off of this topic. So kind of what I know, Jayme, you were talking about this a little bit too. And John as well. What's kind of your guys' thoughts on the market? I know you were mentioning too, Jayme. I want to get your thoughts. You said you were considering going into the broker space, possibly.
I've had some offers. I doubt that'll ever happen. I'm just not a desk rider. You know what I mean? But who knows? Who knows what the future holds? I don't want to be in a truck for the rest of my life. I know that. I'm working on some other things, but not necessarily brokering.
Maybe you.
Why would
John,
you not? Why would you not want to broker, Jayme?
I don't know. It's just really something that don't really interest me at this time. It might eventually. I'm really thinking about building a dispatch, a real dispatch, an American run dispatch, somebody that knows how to dispatch. Because we have a real need for that out here. There's a lot of dispatchers in America and overseas that don't have a clue how to dispatch. Not on working the spot market.
Are you booking all your loads yourself, or do you have a dispatcher that you work with?
Me and my partner, we both dispatch 100% of our loads. I've always, since the second year in, I've been dispatching my own truck.
And I like going back to what you were saying a little bit earlier with the bigger brokerages paying attention and all that kind of stuff, compared to some of the smaller brokerages. Are you seeing consistent differences in the conversation at the time of booking when they're talking about the details at the shipper, also for the receivers? Can you tell a pretty significant difference between the larger brokers and smaller brokers on that?
Yeah, but here's the deal, man. The way I run, this is what you got to remember. I've said it repeatedly. I run the same lanes. So most of these facilities, I know what to expect when I get there. Like Pilgrim Pride in Broken Bow, Oklahoma, you're going to be there 10 to 12 hours every time you go. You're going to drop your trailer. You might as well drop your trailer and hook from them shag it in the door and go take the break. It's knowing where you're at. It's knowing your lanes. It's knowing your areas, your shippers. Even as far as down to being able to go in and knowing the person sitting at the desk.
Mm-hmm.
It makes a difference. If you're just running, here's the whole point. If you're out here running and you're a small carrier and you're basically throwing darts at a dartboard, you're not going to make it. You're going to have trouble. You've got to have a plan. You've got to work on a network, and you've got to know the area you're in. Like a reefer. You ain't going to send a reefer to New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, Nevada. That's how you work it. Stay with the freight's hot.
No, I think you said it. I think you said it well. Just want to catch up on some comments quick. Small brokers waiting to get paid by their customers before paying their carriers' attention won't make it in this industry. I 100% agree with that one. Seth Bland agrees too. Danny Morales agreed. Rob likes your shirt, Jayme. He's got something new headed your way. You're wearing a BWS shirt today?
Yeah, I love this shirt. I wear it all the time. You need to bring a hat next time.
And
Tyson's calling me, so.
I think Jayme's stepping away.
I think he had to take a call.
Okay, sounds like it. So what do you got going on, John? Any big plans for the next year? I know there's some people that were asking earlier in the comments. I didn't put it on there about how you got your first customer. If you want to share,
I don't mind sharing. Yeah, absolutely. So my first client was, I was working at R&L, and obviously I'm from West Virginia. And with R&L, they're structured very similarly, because they're like they're the sixth largest trucking company and one of the largest LTL carriers in the United States. So I connected with Frank Kidd, who is the LTL rep for R&L in West Virginia. And you got to remember, LTL reps are okay. LTL reps are are bonused on truckload business. And so I connected with him. He obviously was visiting these shippers here in West Virginia, for example, to get their LTL business. And in return, if they had truckload opportunities, he flipped that down to me. Um, the that first customer is still a customer today. I just got off the phone with him a couple hours ago, and that gentleman, their maintenance man, actually quit work. Quit. Well, actually, I'm sorry, I'm lying to you. He retired, and so Mark took over the job as from the logistics manager to the maintenance man. He took the job as head maintenance, and then I became their logistics manager. But because I know their business in and out, Eddie and Mark Eddie just sends me all the SOs and I source. I have loads. I have loads scheduled 8 weeks out, scheduled for either inbound salt, flour, buttermilk, soda, what have you. Um, so that's how I got them. So while I was at R&L, I rode those coattails, and I started making friends with other reps in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Pennsylvania. I kind of stayed in the Eastern region and grew my business that way. So my first customer, who's still a customer today, was uh, through connecting through the LTL rep through R&L.
John, I saw in your LinkedIn bio for R&L in your description that you put that you were the only rep that was an order maker, not an order taker. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I
He
mean,
loves to talk about it.
so I was working beside of people that had been there 10 years and we're still doing $25,000 a month in GP. Now, I come from the car business.
Mhm.
So in the car business, just like in the freight business, there are order takers and there are order makers. And there are people that go out there and find business and find new business and go out and tell people what they do and the problems they solve. And when I was in the car business, everybody got a business card. I would pass out an average of about 100 business cards a day, sometimes 200 business cards a day. Now, and what we're and these guys were just it. They had no sales ability because they were never trained. R&L didn't have a training program. You were hired on, and they gave you a list of old recycled customers that will never do business with you again or out of business, one of the two. And then they just say, "Go get them, Tiger." And everybody that and it surprised me that there's no standardized training in a lot of these freight brokerages, and everybody fails. I mean, the TQL rep I was with yesterday. I mean, the guy said there's 60 reps in Charleston, and I didn't know it was that large of an office. And he says, and he's been there over 6 years. He says we do 90 to 95% churn. Some people are there, like they show up Monday and they don't even show back up Tuesday. They've had some that show up Monday and they go to lunch and they never come back. I mean, and these are
That's
people
all
that,
sales, I would say. I
yeah.
mean, that's
And I
most
mean,
sales.
well, yeah, car business same way. And here's the thing: these people just lost the industry for a year because they signed a non-compete, non-solicit. I
Mhm.
mean, and I I know a guy in the Chattanooga market that's not under one non-compete, not two non-competes, but this guy's under 3 2-year non-competes. Isn't that crazy? But anyway, um, but so many people, because they don't have no sales skills, they're just order takers. They get their business from either the phone ringing in or an employee quits and then they get gifted a new account. I mean, that was 90% of them. Broker A had been there 5 years. He decides to leave and go do something else. So then they assign that account to this other guy. But nobody actually had, very few people that I worked with, my peers that I sat beside, ever had any skills to go get new business. And that's why by month 3, I'm doing $100,000 in GP.
You said by
And I
month
don't know. And I
three?
don't know. I was doing 100 grand a month in GP in month 3 and 4. Month 3
Did
and
it
4, I
take
was
a
doing
little? It
100.
didn't take a little bit to build up for you, or did you got straight to? I didn't know it was that high, that quick.
Yeah,
I knew you were at 100 grand
dude. When
within
I was
six to nine months.
when I started my agency, my first month as an agent, I made $68,000 in profit my first month as an agent.
Well, that's more
And
understandable. 'Cause at that
that's-
point, you had been at R&L
Sort
for a year or two. You
of.
had a book of
11,
business.
yeah, 11 months. But it here's I got some of this is timing. When was I in at R&L? During COVID. I was moving tanker loads of, and they had never moved a tanker load in their life. I was moving tanker loads of ethanol out of Oneida, South Dakota, and I was using carriers like Keenan. I mean, these big tanker carrier companies. And I was making gobs of money with this tanker money. There's good money in that, by the way. But um, it was a matter of timing, because back then, if you knew what you were talking about and you sounded half like you could get them a truck, and you sounded somewhat credible, these shippers were saying yes. I mean, you could pick up the phone and say, "Hey, I can get you a truck," and they said, "Where do I sign up?" So
Mhm.
some of this was timing for me, because I was growing a book of business during COVID, and it was
How far were
easy.
most of those trucks deadheading from for the South Dakota pickups?
Iowa. I had a carrier in Iowa that was deadheading Oneida, and of course they charge you the same miles loaded or empty, right?
Mhm.
Dallas, Texas, Houston, Texas, Chicago, Illinois, going to Oneida, South Dakota, and loading that
You were
ethanol for hand
deadheading from
sanitizer
Texas to South Dakota.
all day long, all day
You,
long. Now,
you
once I
should
got
tell
them
the hand
loaded,
sanitizer story.
here,
I don't know
so
if you told that one before during COVID.
so here's a great one. So the name of the company was Sunbeam Labs out of Buffalo, out of Lockport, New York. And this guy was making money hand over fist. He was doing CBD oils. And then he called in, and I happened to get the call. He called in to R&L's truckload, and I happened to get the call. His name was Chris. And he's like, "Hey, I've got all these orders." He had government orders. I was shipping, I don't know, probably 50 loads a week to the government in Columbus and just outside of Harrisburg, PA. We had, I mean, I mean, it's a 24-hour operation. But I had this one guy that was he he had he printed marketing materials for casinos that were owned by like Indians. So like Harrah's, Cherokee, what have you. Well, and he had been doing it for like 20 years. Well, when COVID hit and all those hotels shut down, he was basically out of business. This guy was totally out of business. So he was buying hand sanitizer from Sunbeam Labs. He was like, "Well, how in the hell do I get this to these tribes out in Arizona, Oklahoma?" And he's like, "Oh, call John. He'll get the truck moved." This guy, I was moving hand sanitizer, masks. I mean, all these things to these tribes in like the most remote places in Arizona. And this guy didn't care what I was charging him, because every time he got a PO, because they got all that COVID money from the government to help these Indian tribes just had to spend. I mean, we're talking millions and millions of dollars. This guy, every time he got a PO, hell, he was making 400 grand. So if I charged him 10 grand a truckload, he didn't give a shit. Like, he just wanted me to execute and move the freight, right?
Mhm.
I picked up pallet jacks. I picked up pickup trucks. I picked up two forklifts so they could unload the trucks. I mean, this was the craziest thing I ever done. And I bet you during those two waves of COVID money. Oh, here, I'll tell you two stories real quick. You know how you can buy those 5 packs of at Sam's of the Clorox wipes, and they're like $12 for a 5 pack. Well, the
Mhm.
Jews were selling to him for like $50 a 5 pack. Like, they were marking them up like killer. And
Damn.
you only had to use Clorox, and you can only use Lysol, because those were only two that was certified by the government at the time. Well, he was turning around selling them for $100 a pack. I mean, like, he was making a killing. You know how those throwaway masks that have the band on them that you just used them one time, doctor? So
Yep.
he was paying 2 cents a piece for those, and you could put a million of them in the truck because they were light as shit. He was charging them like 20 cents a mask. And I was just delivering them damn things like crazy to Chinley, Arizona is where it went to this. And I went to like this community center. And then on Saturdays, because I was picking up bags, and then they would put the bags they would make like a kit, some hand sanitizer, some Clorox wipes, some masks, and then they would hand them out on Saturday. And it was crazy. The money, this guy he had mortgaged his house to obviously front the money to buy the goods. And me and him have a great time. And actually, his dad lives in Florida. When I was down there, we met a couple times, but it was a hell of a ride during COVID. I mean, I was making. I had 1 month with him. My total book of business, I had a $400,000 month
Damn.
Profit.
profit, $400,000 a month profit.
Have you beaten that ever since?
No, I probably never will. I stay in the 200 range. That's probably where I
And
stay.
and you've been a freight broker, freight agent for how long by that point?
So I started with RNL in 2019. I went on my own in 2020, and then I'm still here today doing it as an
And
agent.
that month for you was in 20 or 21?
That was late 20.
Damn.
I got a question for you, John. As long as we got Josh here at Sales Dash, how do you organize? How do most agents over at LDI, or how do you guys organize your pipeline when you're cold calling shippers? I know you're not really doing much sales right now, but you
Yeah,
were. How were you?
so my cup is obviously full. I only take referrals. I only take referrals and LinkedIn business. I mean, I've added some clients. I added a couple clients, a freight forwarder, and another client this month. Well, in the last 45 days, say we'll call it November, December, from LinkedIn. A lot of business I turned down. It just doesn't fit my model of what I do. Between managing the carpet business that I do, which is roughly 600 outbound truckloads a month, roughly about 8 million pounds a week of carpet and flooring, and my book, I don't have time to obviously to take on, and I won't do any business that's spot market. Like if somebody called me and said, hey John, I've got this opportunity. We love how you do your business and stuff. And it's first off, if they were out west in California, and Matt and I've had this conversation, I'm done. I go to bed at
He
8:30.
goes
I'm
to
not
bed
playing
too
in
early.
California. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not playing on. Not only that is I'm from West Virginia. I half the people I can't understand because of their language barrier and stuff. I mean, it's and then obviously all the aggravation you go through out in California, the fraud and stuff. I just don't want to mess with it. It's just not my cup of tea. But if somebody said, "Hey, I've got this opportunity for you," whether it's 50 loads a week or 20 loads a day, and I've got to go to that spot market every day, I may say, you know what, hey, give me some lanes that you need some help with, and I'll develop a carrier base in time, and I'll do those. But I just don't play on that spot market. That's just not my thing.
But if you were prospecting, what would you use to manage your leads?
Video. Well, I've never. So obviously, I've used Salesforce and in the past, HubSpot in the past. I mean, obviously I would seek out a CRM if I was obviously prospecting. I've got a pretty robust, internal system I use. I write a lot of things down. Obviously, I use a focus planner to write all things down. So I do that every morning, every evening without fail, 7 days a week to kind of keep everything organized within my pipeline. But obviously, if I needed to use a CRM, then I would obviously look at, like a CRM like Josh's, which is, you know, obviously if you're using one of the out of the, you know, off the shelf ones, um, it's probably not going to be geared more specifically for logistics. So I would look for a CRM that's geared just for logistics, that kind of speaks the language, that works, that has those fields that would probably be more apt for a business. But I
You
can't.
should cut
So
that and send it to Evan, Josh. Cut that clip, send it to Evan.
Yeah.
there you
John,
go.
really quick. Do you book all your freight yourself, or do you have sub agents underneath you?
So I don't have any sub agents. So I manage two books, so to speak. So the book that's got that we do the carpet and flooring portion of that, I have two folks that are paid on my client's payroll, not my payroll, but they answer to me.
Gotcha. Good deal.
And that's all regular carriers. So Covenant, the super carrier Covenant hauls
Hmm.
about 50% of those, and then we have their brokerage hauls a little bit, and then we have a kind of a house carrier. They have 22 trucks, all teams that just run between. They just run our northeast corridor, and then they haul. So it's they use some of our trailers, some of their trailers, and of course Covenant uses just all their trailers. So it's basically 10 points to the same 10 points, plus we do some expedite, direct drops, and some different things that I manage. But that's that business is, I mean, my client's been in business obviously 30 plus years. So that works pretty well. We just got to, we have bumps in the road, don't get me wrong, but for the most part, that's kind of an autopilot type thing. I just obviously have to make sure the carriers stay accountable. And then I control the rates because I'm controlling about a $15 million freight spend with that piece of business.
Let me catch up on some comments here quick, guys. Rob, shout out to Taft's, our sponsor. Great stuff, guys. Thomas commenting, good stuff. Thomas Rodriguez. Jayme, are you still getting loaded? Seth had a question for you. Asked you if you we know you got your truck covered. You're getting loaded right now, so that answers that. He has a hot load out of Texas going to Oklahoma. John Craig said, feel free to send all your turned down business my way, John Rogers. And Dwight said, I've had many nights working past midnight with a large client in California, not an easy task. Yeah, my biggest customers in Washington too. I used to always tell John about that. Friday nights were long nights for me, not 18 hours though.
Yeah, I'm not a West Coast guy. I mean, Matt, you and I've had that conversation. Obviously, I do enough reefer, multi-pick, multi-drop, but mine are structured just like I did that 2-pick 1-drop. I scheduled that. I have control of that scheduling, right? So I didn't want to. So even though the order is available to be picked up on the 6th, I still feel the 6th. Obviously, the market's still going to be a little elevated as trucks start to get in the market. So because I control this particular client's, I'm their logistics manager, and so all he does is send me the SO, and then I go source it, and I set the appointments, and I negotiate the pickup allowances. I went ahead and set that up for the 10th. So Friday for Monday, I'll catch a Lexington truck on Friday. More than likely, it'll be a regular carrier, and obviously make that up there, and the trucks will be back more in position by the end of next week versus the 6th, where everybody's kind of out of position with trucks in the market.
Well, John, this is my first time getting a chance to chat with you. I'm a sales nerd, and so I see a lot of your posts online and whatnot, and it's really cool to hear your story. But I feel like just from watching you and listening to you, your superpower for sales is storytelling with ease. I mean, you just I think a lot of people struggle with that and understanding like how to talk about what they do. And I think that you just do a really good job of it, of actually explaining to people through the stories and how you're actually working with some of your clients on a day in and day out basis, and just your situations and scenarios. So I'm sure you've been told that before, but it definitely seems like that's one of your biggest, if not biggest, strength that you may have.
Well, thanks. And so my background is that I was in the car business for 25 years, right? And then, I sold cars for the first couple, and then obviously I moved into management. And when you get to a sales manager or general sales manager or GM role, obviously, you're closing all that business. So, I mean, obviously it's great to be good on the prospecting side, but you got to be a great closer too, right? And I think I do that well because I believe closing and storytelling work hand in hand. And when you can make that connection, because people will remember stories, but only like 8% of people, like if you had a sales deck or something, are going to remember the data, but they'll remember the stories. And when you can get personal, and I think that's what some of my success, because I've made several $1 million just from LinkedIn, right? As far as well, and by telling my successes, how I do business, how my failures. I mean, I got double brokered by a carrier. He owned both trucking companies, but one of his trucking companies was bad and one was good. And so he booked it with the good trucking company, but the bad trucking company picked it up. Well, I refused to pay the guy, and because the trucking company that would not pass LDI safety, I couldn't. They actually sued me. And I gained a client because of that post, because they were like, most people would have given up. Like most people would have just like given up with that. The load got delivered clean. There was no problem. I said, no, because that's fraud. That's fraud. I specifically, and with this particular client that picked up to Huntington, it went to Jacksonville, and then on to Miami. But I asked the client to always take a picture of the truck. Well, he got busy and forgot and didn't send me the picture of the side of the MC on the side of the truck until after they left. Well, he got sued so he sued LDI and myself in court and lost. And as I share that story, the client that I have now basically said, I want to work with somebody who's that's going to help mitigate my exposure, always do the right thing, and always be, always cover my ass. And that's what I try to do. I mean, I do a lot of hazmat loads, and I'm coming up on my 350 loads that I do between now and March, maybe first, second week of April. I'll do 350 hazmat loads, and a reefer hazmat from Florida to California for Brent. And, I want to, because this is hazardous material, and there's a potential that if this chemical would get into the water stream, that could cost my clients millions of dollars in cleanup and EPA fines. So it's very important for me, so making sure I'm using very well vetted carriers for these loads. And I basically only have 3 carriers that I do business with that only haul these loads, and they're paid well, and then they bring produce back, and it's basically change dates, change numbers, and press send. And that's just the way I develop my business. I don't want to play in the spot market. I don't want to have I don't want somebody to ever think that I'm not doing the right thing, looking out for their business. And so for that reason, I take my job very seriously, and that's why I don't probably have employees, because if my name's on it, it's done right. And I've managed many employees through the years, and it doesn't always sometimes work out because it's not their business. So they punch in, they're out 9 to 5.
Well, Jayme,
I
did
think
you
they
get
got me
loaded there?
overloaded. Yeah, I think they got me overloaded.
Oh, that's not good.
Got to go
How
right
much?
by the Hope, right by the Hope Square, scale down here in about 4 miles. No cat scales around here.
What did the broker tell you the load was supposed to weigh?
38 something.
Do you have
Down
you
scale
have air?
44.
You got axle scales on? You got the scales on your axles where you can see it in the cab of the truck?
No, I've got an air scale up here that I use. I'm close. I don't know if I'm over or not. The broker put the tear weight on the deal, not the gross weight. It's showing I'm 44,000 on the gross weight. It's showing 39 on tear, 30, and I think he posted it out at 38,750 pounds.
So you
Now,
think
you're
the
not one of
broker
those.
did that on purpose or an accident?
Oh, I don't know. It don't really matter. I'll make it work.
You're not one of those carriers that's going to
I'm
call
on.
this guy back and say it's 38. You tendered me 38 and it's 42, 44, whatever. I need an extra $200 for fuel.
Brother, I don't run partials. When I figure a load, I don't care if you want 1 foot of my trailer or 53 foot of my trailer. As long as it's around gross weight, I don't care.
Are you,
We lose
are
Jayme
you
again.
frozen, Jayme, or is that on my end?
No, I think we lost him.
It's on my end, bro. Out here, when some of it on StreamYard, when you're moving, it does not like it.
So, Josh, why did you get out of broker and freight?
Wanted to build my own business, man. That was definitely the biggest thing. And I mean, what's really cool about, I mean, doing software is different, but just in general, I feel like I get to kind of I came from, so I was in brokerage, and then before that I was at Tesla. So I was selling cars, just a little bit different though than a traditional dealership for sure.
I've got a Cybertruck.
Yeah, I've seen it. It looks really good. I like the wrap.
So my exit strategy is in 28. So June 28, I'm out of here. And I've thought I've got some opportunities, and I've thought, so obviously there's a training recruiting maybe that's similar to like the car business where F&I products. And so if you sell F&I products, they'll train your F&I people. So I talked to some people, maybe a recruiting part of this. So we'll recruit your people. And then the caveat is I'll come in and train them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So not only then another thing I've looked at is maybe doing multiple, having several tools and toolboxes, people that I'm connected to in the industry or whatever I land in on my new industry where, if somebody says, "Hey, I need a CRM," I do a referral for you, or for every somebody I book or pitch,
Mm-hmm.
and they sign up, then I get a check in my mailbox.
Wait, so
Then
are you getting out of freight?
in 28, I am. Yeah, I'm done in 28.
Why is that?
4 years from now.
So 3
4
years
years
from
from now.
now, three and a
What
half. So
is that just because?
I have an agreement with the client that I manage the carpet and flooring portion that ends at that agreement ends in June of 28. Now I can sign another 5-year deal if I want to, but I probably won't. Maybe we'll see. Um, and then but in 28 I'll be doing something else. I don't know what it
Okay.
is. I'll be 55. I don't know what that'll be. Obviously, if you're in this business, you got to sleep at needed if you want to be successful. And at 55 my kids will be 16 and 12. So travel in the summer, do be able to do more, because obviously obviously because of what I do, it's hard to make plans. Like any time that we travel during the day, my wife has to drive, so I have a laptop on my lap and can do my stuff, answer emails, tender freight as necessary. Then if we fly, we can only fly on the weekends or after 6 or 7. So I have to be very careful the way I plan my life right now, because my clients depend on me and I have to be available. And I have one very big client that it's $1 million client that they could call me at 2 a.m. on a Sunday morning, and I'll have to execute, right?
Yeah.
And so so for that reason, and it's just hard to make plans. I'd love to take my family to Europe for a month, right? And go to Europe and go to Spain, and in a lot of and I can't do that right now. Or I couldn't take 2 weeks off and go to Australia.
What about
you know I,
Colombia? Can you come here?
I can probably, as long as there's internet, I probably could do Colombia. But like cruising, we went on a Disney cruise last spring. And even though I got through it, the internet on the cruise was really spotty, like really
Mm-hmm.
spotty. And so I'm nervous, because I thought about taking the family again on another cruise this March, but I'm kind of nervous because
You have Starlink?
so I do, but some of the cruise lines, I got the Starlink Mini, and I carry it with me wherever I go. But some of the cruise lines now won't let you bring it on the ship because they want to sell you their
Really?
35 or $40. Yeah,
Oh, of
$40
course.
package. So
Of course.
yeah, so those are the concerns, right? We went out to Vegas in October and saw Garth Brooks and Eagles, and obviously the 3-hour time difference, that was a little challenging for us. And then um and then of course this happens daily. We get, well, not daily, but several times a month. Hey kids, let's go have dinner. It's 6 o'clock in the evening. I think everything's wrapped up. Shit goes to hell in a handbasket. Everybody unload in the car, come back in the house. I take care of a problem, kind of thing. So in 28 I'm done. I'm out of this business in 28. That's a hard number for me, and I'm done. I mean, I won't. I may, I may sign a deal where I'm managing. I may extend it when I'm managing my client's business, but I won't be brokering any freight anymore. I'm done.
Well, if I win that
Gotcha.
lottery night, I'm done.
You're done.
Yeah, that
You get
number's creeping up.
situated. Were you just at the scale house, Jayme? You get the weight figured
No,
out over there.
I was checking out. There's not a scale anywhere unless I go back 25 miles up the road to Prescott, and I'm not going to do that. So it is what it is. Here we go.
Well, hopefully you're underweight there. You're not running any problems.
I'm right at it. I'm right at it. It is what it is. I got bypass. Generally, I get the bypass. We got a good safety rating.
Good deal.
But yeah, I'm finna have to jump off and call this broker and let him know I'm loaded, and let him know I'm going to be about
Hey, Jamie,
45 minutes to an hour late.
How many trucks do you have?
2.
Just 2. Okay.
My partner's got one, and I got one. We both operate our own equipment. We're looking to add one. Probably gonna try to add some more this year. I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
And you do
we might just go ahead and buy 10.
There you go. You do, and you say you try to do about $7,000 a week in revenue total top line.
I'm running basically. If I stay out during the week, I'm running anywhere from 55 to 85, maybe 9, depending on how the freight guys play out.
Well, I mean, I think that's pretty solid. I mean, obviously, I'm
only running 1,400 to 1,800 miles a week though.
Right. Yeah, like I said, you've got a good niche with you're. I mean, I'm surprised you're doing as well as you are, obviously, spot market. So obviously, those relationships that you have with the brokers are pretty damn solid that they're taking care of you. So, because I guarantee you, if it wasn't obviously those relationships, if it was just that random carrier, they're not getting that money that you're getting, and we all know that.
100%. Hey guys, sorry to cut you off here, but Josh has got to go. I got to go as well. And I know Jamie's getting on the road, but we'll have to do this again. Maybe we'll make this a monthly or bi-monthly thing. It was fun. A lot of viewers.
I got a truck broken down in Huntsville, Alabama, John, so I might be able to get up there to see you. I might load down out of Houston up there.
Well, I just live. You said you have that buddy in Benton, Tennessee. Yeah. I'm just five miles on the backside of Benton.
Hell, you live up in Stick, brother. Yeah, that's good, man. We'll get together. We're talking about putting together another freight professional deal, man. I'd like to get everybody involved in it. It was pretty good. We had fun last time. You know, we had a good time, man. Met people, shook some hands.
Sounds like a plan. We'll see you guys next time.
Take care.
All right, guys. Enjoyed it. Cheers.
That was a fun one. Went longer than we anticipated, but it was a fun conversation. Shout out again to our sponsors, Multi-Service Fuel Card, one of the, been around since the 1970s. Load-based, great tracking product. Look them up, loadbase.com. Talk to Stan. Sales Dash, Josh was just here. Brought to you by Tafts. You saw Rob in the comments. Reach out to him or Ryan, great factoring company for carriers. Obviously, HD ships and Black Box. And we'll see you guys after the new year. Have a great weekend.